I see this gap here in the marketplace, and I had to plug in a tool or I had to create a tool because there wasn't anything to help me when I was making these decisions as I was growing my business. Welcome to the Post Purchase Pro podcast.
This is the only podcast that dives deep into post-purchase marketing to help Amazon sellers increase sales, ranking, reviews, and profits. It's everything that happens after the initial sale that makes a difference. We call this the back end. Hey, it's Shawn along with my co-host Seth Stephens. Today on the Post-Purchase Podcast, we are interviewing Mr. Tahir Khan, founder and CEO of RockitSeller. After our interview briefly on the phone with Tahir earlier this week, we found that his software has some amazing advantages and reporting for Amazon sellers. So we're going to jump into a little bit of that today, Tahir, and find out how you got started in this and a little bit of background. So Seth, introduce yourself, and then we'll let Tahir take the stage.
Yeah, definitely super excited to be here. Like you said, Shawn, Seth Stephens here, one of the co-founders of Post Purchase Pro, who puts on this podcast, as you all know. But Tahir, let's before we get into the software and kind of the nuts and bolts of what you've built over there, take us back to when you were an Amazon seller and how this journey began and why you built a tool like you have, because it's amazing, honestly.
Thank you, Shawn and Seth, for the opportunity. Hey guys, this is Tahir Khan. I'm the CEO and founder of RockitSeller, as Shawn and Seth mentioned. So my journey was with Amazon selling started way back in, I think it was 2013, maybe a little bit, even a little bit longer. So I started doing small retail arbitrage, and I still do actually, but on a different scale today. So when I started, obviously, I wanted tools that would help us, as everyone know, and not to knock Amazon down, they have amazing offering, but Seller Central can be really, really confusing. And if you want someone to handle your day-to-day operations, I needed a tool that would make my life simple and my staff's life simple. So I started looking at different options that were available on the market today. Played with a few big name sellers, always came off with a sour taste in my mouth. Um, and since I've always had uh, so a little bit background here about me, um I've had 20 years of software experience. I started off as a software engineer, and I have other companies where I provide custom development services. So when I started using these little pieces of software, and those are some pretty big names. I came off with a sour taste in my mouth, like why you take me just to the banks of the river and prevent me from drinking it? So that last thing that last thing always annoyed me, and I was like, I can do it a lot better. Hopefully, I've done it a little better than the competition. So I'm trying to fill gaps that exist in the market and the marketplaces and the other vendors. And hopefully, I mean, the market is the ultimate decider, but I think I've tried to achieve that goal.
Okay, wow. So I didn't realize you had so much extensive experience in development. So that's why your software is so robust and perfectly designed and positioned for Amazon sellers. So when Seth and I first started selling on Amazon together, I had already been doing it for about, I would say, 4 or 5 months at the most in 2013 as well. And when I first met with Seth, we'd had some experience working together when he was interning for my company while in college. And so I presented the Amazon opportunity as a third party seller to Seth. And the first thing he looked at after I showed him I did about 250,000 in sales for that the fourth quarter of 2013, his first reaction was, "Are you making any profit?" And honestly, Tahir, I had no idea if I was making any profit. So Seth began to create tools for ourselves to organize our inventory, profit and loss, P&L statements, and things like that. And soon found out that I was not profitable. However, we had proven that the opportunity to sell on Amazon was there. Amazon had the buyers, had the traffic. So Seth, having a background in finance, was able to organize that. In our first year, we did 3 million. Seth, how much profit was that?
Yeah, 900,000, Shawn.
I
Awesome,
would have never known.
awesome, awesome.
So your tool is going to be an amazing addition to our audience out there. If you're watching this program, we're going or listening on the podcast platform. We're going to share with you some contact information for Tahir. But Seth, I know that you're chomping at the bit there to dig into some of his tools.
Yeah, so to hear, just to give you an idea of who we're normally speaking to, we're speaking to private label Amazon sellers generally who have a reasonably successful business and are looking to grow. They're looking for help with growth, and they're looking for ways to get an insight into their business where they can make better decisions. So I know you have a whole suite of tools, but what was something that stuck out when you were building your business as you developed RockitSeller that you said, I see this gap here in the marketplace and I had to plug in a tool or I had to create a tool because there wasn't anything to help me when I was making these decisions as I was growing my business?
Yeah. So the auto pricer comes into mind. I also wanted to sell on eBay, which I currently do sell on eBay. And I also wanted to explore other channels where I can increase my footprint and increase my sales. So I looked at eBay and their API, and then I looked at Amazon, and I was like, okay, why would I go to eBay and manage my listing? Why would I go to Amazon, manage my listing? Why would I go to two different channels and manage my pricing? Uh, why can't I consolidate all of this together? And that's what led to RockitSeller. In fact, that was the first thing I built. Uh, my team has been in lockstep with me through our journey, and I designed it, and my team then came in and made my dream a reality. So the auto pricer comes into place, mine. The multi-channel fulfillment comes into mind, and there obviously there was no way before the release of, there was no good way of buyer-seller messaging before Amazon released SP API, and I'm glad to share that we are completely integrated with the new seller partner API.
So, Tahir, a quick question that comes to mind. At what point, when you were developing the software for your own business, at what point, where was that defining moment where you were like, aha, this is something that every seller needs? Like it was the transformational tool or reporting system that made your life easier. At what point did you realize that you had something very valuable there?
So there's a seller on Amazon that was kicking my ass, honestly, Shawn, and I
We've
would
all been
change
there.
I, I would change the price, and then he would price it a bit lower than me. And it got to a point where I was like, why am I even doing this? I mean, I can knock the ball out of the ballpark if I just implemented something. So the first thing I designed and wrote was the buy box strategy.
Okay.
And once I built it, so really wanted to go after him. So I built the buy box strategy and I tested it on my account. And pretty soon, the sellers stopped competing with me. It was so I set my buy box strategy to take a loss of up to 10%, and I just kept pricing it a penny below my competition. And pretty soon, he stopped changing his prices. So that's when I made him play fair in that regard. So I was
Okay.
like, man, I mean, if I'm doing this, this is not an uncommon problem. Other sellers can really benefit from this. Why wouldn't I do that? And then once I like everyone has sometime in the past in our selling journey, we have bought stuff and are stuck with, and now you just want to get rid of it because it's occupying prime real estate. That
Yep.
led to us building the velocity-based algorithm that exists in RockitSeller today.
Wow.
That was the
So,
defining moment, actually.
so when I that's amazing. You take me back to 2013. The product that I was selling were the rainbow loom bracelet kits. They were like the little rubber bands, that the kids would weave together and make bracelets out of. So when I first was introduced to the Amazon opportunity, I was told to find a product like a generic listing and then piggyback that listing with a similar product and just beat them in the price. So since sourcing was my background, Tahir, I knew that these rainbow loom bands that were selling for 17, 18, $19 could be had for $1 in China. So I immediately bought like 20,000 units. And then I think at one point I was piggybacking, is the term that we used, like over a dozen listings on Amazon. And then I got to the point because I didn't have a repricing tool. I thought, well, if there are 10 sellers and we're all sharing the buy box, why can't I be six of those 10 sellers? So I started opening all these extra seller accounts, through IP addresses and virtual connections and things like that. And that's what I was doing when Seth looked at my business. And I think at that point, Seth, I had 4 or 5 seller accounts. And I was explaining to him, if we keep the price here, then we're going to rotate the buy box. I'm 5 of those 10 sellers, so I'm taking half of the action. If I would have had your tool, I wouldn't have had to open 5 different seller accounts. So That was
Yeah.
the defining moment for me when I realized, hey, there's a lot of action here. I'm only getting 10% of it. I'm greedy, I want 50%. So, yeah, Seth, you remember that?
Yeah, I definitely do, Shawn. So we love talking to founders and CEOs of tools to hear because we know that people like yourself have been in the trenches. You're really building a business for yourself, and then you said, okay, in my own business, I see a need. I can't find a solution anywhere else. So you actually went through the pain of developing the tool, which is, that's a lot of work and a lot of effort and money. And I think you said it before to hear that you really have to commit to something to make it great. So I'd love to hear kind of what gave you the inspiration to kind of go all in on RockitSeller because that's a big leap.
So one of the one of the things, my founding principle has been if I don't believe in the product myself, I won't ever have someone else buy it because one thing I am very adamant about is integrity. So when I started building, and it was kind of daunting because you still have all these big name vendors that have thousands of sellers out there, and now how do I convince them, those sellers, that our platform is better than them? The only way I can convince them is when I stand behind my product and say that's the reason I'm in meetings and I meet sellers face to face because if nothing, my passion shows, and people people want to. This tool is, I think it meets a critical need in the market, but don't take my word for it. I stand behind 100% of what I've built, and that's what led me to, like, I can really help sellers achieve their goals and really help them with their day-to-day life. One of the things that is most critical, the most valuable commodity in today's times is time ourselves. We don't have enough of it. And selling on Amazon took away my life. I mean, mm, for lack of a better word, I was the slave of my business. And then
Mhm.
I found that I just didn't have enough time to do anything else. And that led to, you know what, automation is the key here. I know this, I can do it. Let's build it and let's help some people out while it's helping me.
That's a great insight, especially with time, because as you stated, Tahir, time is that most valuable commodity that, once it's spent, we can't get it back. If we can spend a tiny little bit of money to buy some time through automation, then that money will be replenished, but time will never be replenished. So at the end of the day, that's exactly what you're doing is you're providing an opportunity for sellers out there who are being a slave to their business to buy some of their time back. And that's just it's a simple concept, but it's just immense and powerful. So let me ask you a trick question, and you didn't have a list of these questions before we got on here, but you do automated repricing, multi-channel fulfillment, inventory synchronization, scanner upload, not sure what that is, create Amazon ads, buyer seller messaging, which I love, manage shipments, reports, and analytics. If you had to, gun to your head, you had to eliminate all those tools except for one, which one could you start over with?
You know, they're all so dear to me and handbuilt that it is a very difficult question. It's not a trick question, it's a difficult question. Um, but I think the automated pricer, the automated repricer, I think that has saved my life, and in a way, it saved my marriage. I'm going to
Okay.
tell you, and that is a big statement. My
Because
wife
you were able
was
to buy back some of your time, right? By not having
ab-
to manually reprice. Okay, I like that.
absolutely, that is the most valuable thing, if nothing else, that
So,
we can really help the sellers save.
okay, so Seth and I are huge proponents of creating a relationship and building rapport and nurturing that relationship with our Amazon buyers. So let's dive into buyer seller messaging. Tell me how that works and what the capabilities are. If I'm a brand owner and I want to let my customers know that we care about them, they're not just an order number coming from Amazon. What can buyer seller messaging through Rocket Seller do for me?
So you can automate your buyer seller messaging, things like uh, requesting negative review removal and automating feedback. Remember, before SP API, there was no real way of soliciting feedback. Plus, you had to adhere to all these uh, not draconian. They were there for a reason. All these rule sets, and you could still end up violating Amazon rules. So one of the things that we do is within a set period of time, our automation sends an email out using the buyer seller messaging API to the sellers, soliciting feedback. You can go to when an order comes in, you can click on that order and get in touch with the customer, with your buyer directly, and send them custom messages per
Okay.
order. And you don't need to if you can send canned feedback review requests, or you can customize for each and every order that you send. Plus, you can go to the order, and if take for example, you have an issue in your supply chain, and you anticipate the fulfillment would take more than 3 or 4 more time than you anticipated, you can send your buyer a message right from the order itself,
Okay.
and that will show up, and we show you a graph on the dashboard of the number of orders and number of messages that was sent, and eventually you will see that it's a number game. But if you send out maybe 100 feedback requests, I'm sure you'll get 3 or 4%. So over time, you're building that rapport with your buyers and your repeat customers. You can
Okay.
send them uh, you can send them free downloads or coupons if you would like.
That's powerful.
Yeah, so to hear for a lot of our sellers out there that are listening, they are growing their private label brand and they want to get their product in front of as many people as they possibly can. So your multi-channel fulfillment tool, I'm sure, would help them in a huge way. So you yourself said that you sell on eBay and you sell on other platforms. So walk us through really quickly before we have to wrap this up. What does that actually do, and how does that work?
So that if you different marketplaces have different seller rules. Walmart has one, Amazon has one. So you list our product, and then you first of course, you have to connect your platform to our platform. Once you connect your platform, you create a listing, and then we would synchronize it across all your selling channels. Now, if you take, for example, if you have inventory in your FBA warehouse and you receive an order from eBay, you can automate the fulfillment process. So as soon as the order from eBay comes in, you can ship that order by creating an order through our software, automated, and we will create the order on Amazon, and it will be shipped and fulfilled on time.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so we automate all that.
So as a private label seller, I take an order on eBay, and your software sees it, automates the fulfillment of it, and you don't have to do anything. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tahir, I can definitely tell that you're passionate about what you've built here. You're very humble, but you have the right background, and it looks like you have built an amazing suite of tools here. So we were excited to do this interview and to dig into what makes your product and your services unique. Shawn, let's wrap this thing up. I know we're getting a little close on time.
Yeah, let's talk about pricing real quick, Tahir. I know you have something that you want to offer specifically for the viewers of this video and also the listeners on the podcast, and tell us how to get that offer and where they can find out more about you. Share a URL. We'll also add that to the show notes, of course.
You caught me off guard on this question, Sean. But
Okay, that's what I do.
for you, but, but for viewers, for your viewers, for your customers, whatever is the advertised price on RockitSeller.com, depending, I mean, our pricing is revenue based. So if you do between $1 million and $3 million, just $199 a month. But we will offer a special price for your viewers. All they have to do is get in touch with me. Uh, and you can share my email address if you would like, Sean. And we
Okay.
will knock off 50%
Wow.
of the yearly subscription price for your
Wow.
sellers if they come from this podcast.
Super generous. So go ahead and say that email address and URL, if you will, for those who are only listening and can't see the show notes. What's the URL to sign up, and how can they email you?
Okay, so the URL is RockitSeller.com. It's RockitSeller.com. And my email address is Tahir, Tahir .khan at RockitSeller.com.
Okay, so Rocket Seller, spelled with an I, RockitSeller, seller.com. And then you can reach Tahir personally. His email is tahir.khan TAHIR.KHAN at rocketseller.com. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. So 50% off for the first year. That's amazing. Thank you for such a generous offer. So any parting words of wisdom for sellers out there, Tahir, before we wrap this up?
We know that we are new to the market. We are young, we are hungry, and we really want to break into this market and grow with you. So if there is something that is lacking in the software, and if you think it will benefit a lot more people, we are always willing to listen, and we are always working. We'll always work to offer that customization to you guys.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. So this is Tahir Khan, founder and CEO of RockitSeller. You heard him, folks. He's hungry. I love that about you. I'm hungry. I remain hungry, Tahir, and I like that. That position's a lot better than being comfortable. My name is Shawn
Absolutely.
Hart. I'm co-host. That's Seth Stephens, and this has been an episode of the Post Purchase Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Tahir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.